For more on the development in the Democratic Republic of Congo, we're joined by researcher and political commentator Dr Junior Kasongo, who speaks to us from Birmingham in England. Dr Kasongo, appreciate your time today. How did the delay in voting materials impact the credibility and fairness of this election process, and what measures were taken to address these challenges?
Yes, it has certainly, because transparency is very important. As you can imagine, the Congo is a very big country, so that wasn't surprised. You know, we know it's a huge country. So when the Electoral Commission say that they were ready, yes, so they should have taken all the measures, and that will include making sure that voting kits are ready, and also equipment do function. Okay, so what is happening right now, this shows how the organization was either not good or they just didn't learn from past mistakes, because under Kabila, the same logistical challenges were used to postpone the election, you know, from 2016 up to 2018. So it is a known issue. So I don't think they've done a good job, quite frankly, and I can't use that reason, because for the Congolese person, it doesn't sound really convincing. So it's not an excuse that they should be using.
Now, how would this affect the vote in general? I mean, one would assume that if a certain number of people don't vote, then potentially those people would be voting for any of the candidates. Were there delays in specific parts of the country that would prejudice certain of the candidates?
Yeah, I mean, the Constitutional Court, there's an issue about the numbers of candidates not matching on the list, but the numbers might have changed, especially for those candidates who are in the provinces. Okay, the number allocated to one candidate might have changed, so they should have maybe checked, you know, that the numbers is still the same. But then again, the list of candidates, the final list should have been made public. Okay, so this doesn't happen. Also, the numbers should have changed in the system. So there are a lot of issues there, and that is, that should have been resolved. And yes, the country is big, and yes, in some places, voting couldn't take place because of delays. Yes, they are still voting today, but certainly this will have an impact on the credibility, and people will want already the opposition is wanting a rerun. Okay, that's unwise. Even the Catholic Church is against that, but you can see how a lack of transparency and can cause a lot of problem. Okay, because public trust needs to be there, and Congo, the DRC, is a young democracy. Don't get me wrong, all these irregularities can happen in Europe, in other countries too, but they have to build that trust. I'm sure the president of the CNE, the Electoral Commission, recognized that, you know, they have to put their image, but they haven't done much to do so, which is unfortunate.
Are there many observer parties that have been invited to watch over these elections? And if so, what sort of reaction have we been getting from them?
Yes, as I said, some of the opposition members are demanding a rerun because clearly they're not happy, and some of the opposition party is reported to do their own counting. Again, that's not something that you will want, because if they're doing their own counting and the government, I mean, the saying is doing their own counting, clearly there will be two systems. You know, which one would you use to tell the people of the Congo? So, but as I say, I feel they should have worked together, really, because as I say, it's a younger democracy. And just before the elections, there was a meeting where the President Kadima of the Electoral Commission met with 26 candidates to work together. So having those two counting systems, it's not working together. It will further create conflict. But luckily, so far, we haven't seen a lot of violence. Okay, so it has been largely so far, peaceful, despite some pockets of violence, but it is peaceful largely. So that's a good thing.
Now, the UN has reported that the DRC has nearly 7 million displaced people, with a record concentration in the eastern part of the country. How would you characterize the magnitude of the humanitarian crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest and forgotten crises. Now we're focusing on Ukraine, on Gaza, but it is a big one, one of the biggest, I would say, not resolved, and partly because the region is very rich. As you can imagine, if the region is rich, then all those war lords, they have the means to finance the war, and also with the complexity of some neighboring country. And yeah, I'm sure we all know, you probably know, that Rwanda has been accused many times to do a proxy war in the Congo, and also various United Nations report have accused Rwanda, have shown evidence of Rwanda getting involved in supporting the rebel groups. So there are certainly, it's very complex. On one hand, you have the Congolese government who need to create a strong army in order to pacify, the eastern side. But again, you also have corruptions amongst army officials. This on one hand. On the other hand, you have a country like Rwanda, who doesn't have a lot of mineral resources, using those rebels as proxies to get the materials they need and for their own economy. So it's very complex. But until Congo itself has a strong army, I don't think that will that is to end soon, because we had the Kenyans coming, we had many times we invited the Ugandans, the Burundians to come, invited the army, to come and help. We recently invited the Kenyans, because we joined the Eastern African Community group. So it didn't work. So Congo needs its own army to defend itself.
So we're talking about almost 44 million people who are eligible to vote. Do we have an idea of what the voter turnout was?
Okay, at the moment I do not have the statistics, but it is believed that people turn in a very huge numbers. As you can imagine, we are a younger democracy. We've not been voting for a long time. This might be maybe the fourth time in the history of the country. So people are very enthusiastic. They came to the police station 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours earlier, 2 hours earlier, but unfortunately, there were delays, and some of them were open, late, and that's been reported in various parts of the country. But generally, I think there will be a higher turnout because people really want to vote. Most people in Geneva, they're excited to be able to vote because they have not done that. They've had 32 years of Mobutu dictatorship, and then the war with Kabila father, and then so we just say, people are very, very much enthusiastic and they want to vote. So and that's why they feel this anger among people. It's so not well organized.
So you speak of anger, Dr. Kasongo, and I suppose this anger stems from a number of needs that the people of the DRC have. There are obviously those that are displaced, that want safety. There are those who are orphan and vulnerable, that want to be protected. There are those that want to go to school. Some people just want a roof over their heads. Right? Now, which of these candidates, because there are multiple candidates, seems to be addressing the issues of the majority of the needs of the Congolese people?
Dr. Mukwege, has worked largely in the Eastern Congo. So he's well known in Eastern Congo. So he's seen, and he has said that the election campaign that he won't really to pacify, because you quite rightly said peace means a lot for people in Eastern Congo, more than in any part of the Congo. So Mukwege has said that in his campaign. Felix Tshisekedi has been in power for 5 years now. There has been some steps towards peace. As I said, he has on a number of occasions invited foreign, African troops to come and trying to catch the rebels and all of that. But he hasn't really quite worked. During the elections, he has call Kagame Hitler, Kagame Hitler. So it might be, he has the language, but people want to see actions. Okay, so we can only hope that if he wins, and he is popular, because he has done many realizations, building roads, also hospital, and introduced free education. So he had done some certain things that, and Congolese people want to give him more time to do the race. So their hope, if he wins, that he can maybe continue and finish off. But Mukwege also has voiced concern, and he wants to do. So those are the two candidates. I think they are passionate about that issue.
Now, being Congolese and also being a political commentator, just what needs to be done to turn things around in Congo? I think like many other African countries, you get independence, or you come to terms of self-rule. But the process of getting to a place that is acceptable, where infrastructure is built, there is development, and the citizens of a country enjoy the benefits of one of the world's richest countries, are felt. What is it going to take to get to that stage?
That's a very big question, and I'm happy you asked that, because I often debate with colleagues about that. I mean, for Congo specifically, because Africa is a continent, for Congo specifically, I think we need to change the mindset. And people who enter politics, they do enter politics to I'm sorry to say that, to serve themselves, and that's wrong. You are a politician because you are a public servant. Okay, that's why it should be. But you are a public servant, so you need to care about the public, about the country. Okay, so but the mindset is that people enter politics in order to get rich. So that's the mindset currently among our politicians. So they're there because because it is well paid. They call this kind of advantage. You can travel and all that. So it shouldn't be like that. It should be that you enter politics because you are passionate about the people, and being passionate about the people, the country. It means you are not going there to make money or to become rich. Because if you want to become rich, you can go and do business. That's what business people do. You go, you sell things, or you to become rich. But I think if we don't change that mindset, then we will be where we are in a number of years. We'll still be where we are because of corruption and the need to serve yourself rather than to serve the country.
Now, one of the things that we've picked up from former French colonies, if you will, is the influence of France to this very day. Now, some have suggested that there is a need to snip that umbilical cord, if you will. We have seen it in places like Mali, for instance, and others in West Africa, where that relationship has soured because the African countries in that region feel that they're getting shortchanged or getting a raw deal from Mali. In the DRC perspective, how are those relations with its former masters, if you will, and just how important is it for the DRC to detach itself from such?
Okay. Yes. There are some differences there. I'm glad that you touched on that. In Mali, France has. They have that, monetary system, franc CFA. It's a money that is printed in France. It doesn't have the economy. And Congo is a bit different because we have our own currency and all that. We have our former colonial power. That was Belgium. Okay, so I think it is important to work with them, because I don't believe that just changing your changing like in Niger. They kicked out the French. And then they are, taking the Russians in. I don't think just changing that is a solution, because in Mali, in Niger, yes, they invited the Russians, but who is inviting them? Is another strong man. It's a strong man. So they've had the French Revolution, if you want, but it has been stolen, because the strong man they have in power in Niger is a military man, is a strong man. He will invite the Russians, and he might be a dictator. So nothing will change. I mean, so I think we can still work with the in the case of Congo particularly, we can still work with Belgium, and we do work with Belgium because President Tshisekedi is someone who has lived in the diaspora. Is very popular in the diaspora. He has attended school in Belgium, so and we have good relations with Belgium. I think that's healthy, but we need to be expanding our while working with our former Belgium, master, if I can use that word, if you allow me to use that word, we can work with the Chinese, with the Russians as well. So, and the war happening in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia, we shouldn't get involved. We shouldn't. It's not the time where we need to align ourselves like this was in the day. When we had this bloc and this bloc. No, we can invite any partners as long as we can engage into something that's beneficial for Africa. And for our country and that country. So we can engage with the Americans, with the Russians, and as long as it benefits the Congo. And this approach, I think, is being taken in the Congo because Felix Tshisekedi went to the Africa-Russia summit. He went there, so we are in dialogue with the Russians. I've been in the Congo recently, and the Russians are coming. They want to open language centers, so we are in good terms with the Russians, and I think that's a good approach because we shouldn't be getting involved in conflict between those European powers. We have our own African problems, and we can work with any partner. But the main thing is that we should have a leader who cares about the nation. Because in the past we had dictators, we have people stealing money from the government, and Mobutu is thought to be at some point it was richer than the country. I mean, he had money outside the Congo, more than the external debt of the country. So, I mean, we need to have leaders who truly care about the country. As I said, they're there not to serve themselves, but serve the country. But I think right now we are taking a good approach. I think the government is having that kind of different partners, and I think that's healthy. But getting rid of them or stopping collaboration with them, I don't think that's the right solution.
Dr. Kasongo, appreciate your time. Research and political commentator, Dr. Junior Kasongo, joining us from Birmingham in the United Kingdom.